But talking specifically about what this was, so I guess that probably could require some explanation. I didn't make a command or anything, but so the idea of this is after the summer tournament, at least for the last couple of years, this is my third time participating in the Super Speedrun event, but basically it's almost like a closing ceremony type of thing. The idea is basically to do a sort of vanilla speedrun, but also do it at a ridiculous speed, more or less. So it's basically an IPS patch for the vanilla ROM that adds a lot of things that are going to make it significantly faster. Among the things, speed hacks and fast text, 50% of vanilla XP requirements, menu wrapping is enabled, Fighter's Ring is good for 2 attack power, all the gold chests are the high value gold chest, all the adjustments to MP cost for spells, so heal costing 3 instead of 4, radiant costing 2 instead of 3, heal more costing 8 instead of 10, all part of this. Increased range for heal in terms of how effective it is, and same for hurt. They're a little bit less effective in the original game. Torches and fairy water being enabled for this as well, which again is unique to this, not available in the vanilla game. XP and gold from enemies is the randomizer and remake version values, not the original values, which are significantly lower. Repel and fairy water being effective in dungeons and off the overworld is enabled. And probably the biggest game changer in this particular run is no keys needed, so all the doors were unlocked. That allowed us to do the opening gold grind at the very start. It allowed us to do, lots of other, not sequence breaking necessarily, but we were able to do some things in different orders if we chose to. I generally chose not to. I didn't choose to go to the grave early. I didn't choose to try to do anything else like that, but it still worked out for me, at least based on my routing. So I was pretty happy with that overall. So then it's really just a matter of getting everything together. I mean, in the vanilla speedrun, level 18 is kind of the gold standard for chasing a world record run. The problem with that is that it's very risky. Even if you get into the Dragon Lord fight, you're probably looking at something like, I don't know exactly, maybe a 35% chance to win if you get in fully intact and at full HP, and with perfect decision making, it's probably around 35 or so percent to win at level 18. The odds are definitely higher here for 2 reasons. One, heal more costs less, so instead of at level 18 with the strength HP build having only 10 heal mores, you have 12 heal mores. Massive difference. The other thing, you have the ability to throw fairy water in battle to do damage. At level 18, with 125 attack power, you're looking at a range of 6 to 12, average of 9. Fairy waters can be thrown for 9 to 16, average 12.5. So basically, those 4 swings, you're getting roughly 14 additional damage out of them versus average, in addition to the fact that you're basically getting 2 extra attacks. So, whereas at 18 in vanilla, you're looking at a situation where you've got to get there fully intact, all of your heal mores intact, and get lucky enough to get a double attack or 2, and to roll decently, versus here, we have 2 additional heal mores. We have the ability, frankly, to do it without a single double attack, and potentially even without a heal more or 2. It's definitely possible to win this fight on 10 heal mores with fairy waters. Not as likely, you're probably an underdog slightly, but it's not, impossible by any means. If you get a lucky double, you're probably at least a coin flip. So that's kind of what it came down to, more or less. So that was the idea behind the run. Now hopefully that is okay for volume. Might be a touch low. Yeah, the little addition of the title is good there. So notice that I skipped one of the chests in the throne room. That's a torch. I didn't really want it cluttering my inventory because I was going to want max fairy waters anyway. And I only need to pick up 2 in order to initiate the gold grind here in a treasury, so I just skipped that intermediate chest. So doing the gold grind here at the opening segment, again, it was my choice to do. I felt like my routing was pretty safe. There's really only a couple points where I felt like I was potentially in danger, and that's really very early on, so theoretically, I mean, I still wouldn't really be able to quote-unquote recover from it, but I would probably reset and lose 2 or 3 minutes. But to just do the gold grind now versus anything else, when I had tried routing in the grave very early or something like that, I found that it was just taking more time than I wanted. And it was also a little bit more risky, so this was a bit more of a safe strat for me. Aimed for around 28,000 to 28,500 for the most part. It seemed that, depending on exactly where I ground the 4 to 15 segment, depending on when I moved to which zone, there was a little bit of variance, so I went with a little bit higher value. I probably needed only about 27 or 27.5, but that was safer. And probably naturally went immediately over to Brecconary. Filled up on herbs, bought a dragon scale, and then sold it after putting it on, because you don't need to keep it in your inventory to get the defense power bonus. That way I could max out at 8 fairy waters. And one thing I found that was kind of interesting, and you'll see me do it here in a minute, and that is to buy equipment at the start, and not just any equipment, but specifically the defensive equipment in my case. So my thought process on that was, if I buy a dragon scale and equip it, leather armor and small shield, I actually repel Slime Red, Slime Drakey, and Ghost. So I can make the walk into the more lucrative zone over to the east near Cole without having to deal with some of the low-tier enemies that are along the way. I also noticed that I would check the status screen a couple of times at specific points, and that's because your stats don't update automatically when you put on equipment, but they do update after level up, after dying, and at the beginning of battle. So by checking the status screen, that is the other potential trigger. If I didn't check the status screen, I could run into an encounter of a thing that I should be repelling because the stats didn't update until the encounter took place. A little bit of luck involved here as to which encounters you get. If you notice during the actual thing, I made this entire walk up into the hills here without a single encounter, which is pretty uncommon in my experience, but it is what it is. I also had to use an herb early because I got preemptively hurt cast down into danger range. I also wanted to make sure I got at least to level 4 here. If I could pick up an extra enemy kill or 2, that's great. It's just going to make it a little bit easier because I wanted to get into level 6 before I hit Mulder down to the south. And there were a few times in practice that I was not able to get all the way there, and then it's a little bit harder because you're refilling in the inn at level 5, so you're getting less hit points back, less MP, which means you're going to have to make more in-trips, and in-trips are probably the slowest thing you do in the next segment of the game. Again, putting the fairy water up and then checking the status screen to make sure that my stats update. Yeah, the stats update thing is kind of weird. It's kind of an anomaly that, honestly, I didn't really know was a thing until I started running Randomizer. And there were a couple instances, especially in, I think it was the first year I did the Winter League, where we ran into permanent repel, and I was encountering enemies, or an enemy, that I should have been repelling based on my stats. Or I would face one and then never see one again because, you know, after the stats update, then you're appropriately going to be repelling them. A nice early level 5 here. Level Scorpions, pretty good encounter here. I think that the wolves are the toughest because they're going to take at least 3 hurt casts, And since wolves are not defense broken because I only have a small shield, they're a bit riskier because they can hit me, I think, for at level 4 up to 10, 11 damage, and I think from 5 on up until 7, they can hit me for 10. They're a little bit more damaging. I did hit level 6 there, which is perfect. Only a brief NPC block. Hopefully the audio level's okay, by the way. I didn't adjust it further, just kind of maxed it out. If it's a little loud or a little quiet, feel free. I will make that adjustment. And from here, it's really just grind. There is a little bit of decision-making as to whether or not to cast Hurt versus just attack through things, particularly wolves and metal scorpions. Now, that was a risky swing there that I probably shouldn't have taken. A miss means I die. But specifically with wolves and metal scorpions, your range is only, what, like 5 to 10, I think, until level 8, or level 7, rather. So you're doing less damage, not just less, but significantly less damage than a Hurt cast or a Fairy Water Throw will do. The problem is your MP pool is so small that casting Hurt more means you're going to have to go to the inn sooner because you're going to run out of MP. So in general, in order to save an inn trip, I had been trying to just punch things. I didn't do that in the actual speedrun. I think I did take an extra, just because of the encounter luck. I ran into like wolf, metal scorpion, wolf or something at like levels 5 or 6, so I kind of was forced into it. This one here, level 7, going back to the inn, not what I want to see. I was 2 XP short. Actually, yeah, 2 XP short of the level. Ideally, I would get to level 8, get a little bit more HP and MP on in-trip refill, but I could have used an herb, but I chose not to. It's only 3 MP, but it is 1 extra heal cast, and in flags that are this fast, it can make a statistical difference. Again, you can see I'm still doing like 7 to 14 there, which is less than Hurt. Probably slightly less, yeah, probably about 6 to 13 on the wolf here at level 8. So, but really, it's just the grind from here on. I had tried a few different things, and honestly, there's so little difference between grinding in this zone here, the middle zone down just to the south where we do a lot in the vanilla speedrun between levels 10 and 12, and if you were to go to 13 in the vanilla speedrun, slightly further south of that near the Jerk Cave. In general, because the vanilla speedrun is so much longer, and this is so short, limiting in trips is the kind of the biggest potential time save. So my idea was mostly to stay in the lower tier zones, again, because I only have a small shield, whereas normally I would be defense breaking wolves at level 4, instead I'm defense breaking them at level 8 here, whereas I would be defense breaking wolf lords at level 10 with a large shield. I'm now doing so at 13. It becomes a little bit more onerous to try to grind because you're taking more damage. If you're taking more damage, you're burning more heals. If you're burning more heals, you're going to have to make more in-trips. So I kind of made the decision that I got to go to at least level 12 in this zone to minimize the number of in-trips. And then I can go to the south, and hopefully I can skip the middle zone and go right to the Wyvern zone. It depends on how far past the level 12 marker I can get. Level 12, I believe, is 2,000 experience points. If I can get to like 2,200 before going to the inn, then I can probably make it work. If I'm like limping across the finish line. I've used 4 herbs. I'm probably going to run out of resources if I try to go right at level 12 into that bottom zone. I'll probably have to hang out here for a little bit or in the middle zone for a few encounters to just be sure that I'll not run out of particularly MP. I did a couple of times pick up the wings in the inn in Remulder. That way I could burn an extra 8 MP using heal. But in general, I kind of found that most of the time it's not necessary if I plan my inn trips well and I make the right move to the right zone at the right time. So ideally, I would have about 10 MP left by the time I get to level 15. That way I can cast Return and Repel to go to Garenham. We hit level 10. Maybe even a bonus if I can get to level 12 MP. That way I can cast Repel before staying at the inn, and that would allow me to walk through the grave and have the Repel wear off just as I get into the zone that has Girl Magi, Inspectors, Wraith Knights, and things that are actually worth a decent bit of XP and are pretty easy for me to take out. Wasn't the case in this case. I could have, I just kind of chose not to. And instead cast it as soon as I got into the grave, as opposed to at the inn. It basically lasted for the entirety of the dive through the grave. Just continuing the grind here, not much to say. I will say though, being 12 minutes in and being level 10 feels pretty darn good in the vanilla speedrun, because by this point, we would have already sat through 20 minutes of opening the same chest over and over and over, and spend a couple hours grinding, and several hours grinding related still coming forward, and it's like, ugh. But again, a lot of this is just encounter luck. You know, do you get back attacked a bunch? Do you get put to sleep by warlocks and, you know, hurt or attacked a bunch of times in a row where you're burning more MP or not? Do you get a good set of lucky crits to start battles rather than after you've attacked something twice and, you know, it has like 2 HP left? Do you get crits at all? Now level 11. And more or less all I'm trying to do is make sure I limp up to level 12 at 2000 XP before I have to go to the inn. Again, the real reason just being I want to make sure that I get all the HP and MP that I can when I go. 7 more MP at level 12. So basically it's 2 more heal casts, and that just might be what I need. Just continuing the grind, not a whole lot to say. Notice I've already picked up level 12 here, and I'm kind of just picking up as much extra as I can. That way when I head down to the bottom zone, I'll be able to stay there the rest of the way. Kind of what I discovered, that this zone and the zone in the middle don't really have a whole lot of difference when it comes to speed of grind when you're defense breaking everything, but if you're not defense breaking everything, the combination of taking extra damage from the Wolf Lord and the unfavorable gold man encounters, which you have to run from anyway, because they're not worth anything, made this zone better at the earlier levels, and by this point, even though I'm going to be taking a lot more damage from the Wyverns until level 14, I have enough resources here to tolerate being in this zone, and I can usually remain pretty safe, unless a Wyvern like triple dodges and gets its whatever 1 in 30,000 or something. Worst comes to worst, I have backup herbs. In this case, I haven't used any, but in most cases I will have used at least a couple at this point, whether it was for safety around or going to Cole at the beginning, to make sure I was not in hurt range of a Magidrakey, or let's say on the walk first time through to Remolder, or let's say in battle against a wolf or something before we were defense breaking them. Yeah, Wyverns can still do quite a bit of damage here. Right? Their range is probably 7 to 15 or so. So they can do some damage. We only have 63 HP. It's not like we're, you know, super tanky yet. Especially if we get back attacked. We do have to be careful. Also, one thing I made sure I didn't mention this before, but I did buy magic armor in Remolder here as we pick up level 13. Now, normally at 13, now is when you start defense breaking Wyverns, but again, with only a small shield, it's not till level 14 that we start breaking them. But picking up the magic armor, again, it provides the same amount of defense, but it's 5,000 gold more expensive. Because the gold grinds so fast, it's literally like 6 seconds to grind up the extra gold. You just have to pick up the chest another, you know, well, it's more than 6 seconds, like 10 seconds. To pick up the chest another 8 or 9 times. It doesn't take long. The walking regen is nice. Over the course of the entire set of grinds here, it's at least several heal costs, probably a full in trip. So definitely more than 10 seconds worth of time save, but more importantly, right from level 4 or level 6 or whatever level it is that you're getting to and around Remolder, it provides added protection against the Warlock sleep. Not because of the sleep, but because of its effect on the hurt spell. Instead of taking 3 to 10 damage in this case, we're only taking 2 to 6. If you get sleep locked for 4 or 5 turns, it's a much lower likelihood that you're going to be taken out. So it is, I think, really important to get the magic armor in this case. If for nothing else other than safety. And it's another enemy that you have to, or that you can fight relatively safely in those first couple levels around Remolder. The other big impetus for coming down into the zone around level 12 is that you get 8 strength at level 12, so that's a pretty big boost. You're at 13, you get 7 more HP, and then 14 gives another power boost. So you're kind of going from, before level 12, you'd be like 4-shotting Wyverns, which is really dangerous because you're also getting hit for a lot. At 12 and 13, you're probably 3-shotting them most of the time. Outside chance to 2-shot. Once you get to 14, better chance to 2-shot than 3-shot. So it's like, becomes pretty efficient to grind here. They're worth more than anything else on this continent. And you encounter them fairly frequently. Alright, level 14. I'm looking at my numbers and saying, you know, at worst, I want to have 10 MP left. I got 4 heal mores. I got most of my HP. I got 6 herbs if I need them. And I'm defense breaking everything now, so I feel pretty comfortable that I'll be able to finish the grind in this zone without having to backtrack up to the north. The interesting thing about this is because I haven't used a single herb. Now granted, if I were only down 1 or 2, theoretically I could play it a little bit risky and not refill them in Garenham, but I can avoid the shop altogether when I go there. So that's, again, not a significant time save, but it is a time save. Having to go into the shop, go through the dialogue, and buy, even if it's 1 or 2 herbs, does take time. Technically, if I only needed 1, there is a single herb in one of the chests in the back of Garenham that would probably be faster to pick up than going to the shop. Taking a little bit more damage than I'd like in some of those fights. Again, back attacks are killer. 3-shotting anything is pretty killer. And any high rolls on your defense broken enemies, in terms of what you're taking in on damage, can be a bit problematic. But again, numbers still look good. Only another 522 XP for the level. We're gonna move on. Nice crit. Another good crit there. We can just wrap up the grind here. Definitely thinking if I can stay at 12 MP, that'll be perfect. So, a little bit of, not risk really, walking around with 20-something HP, because after this battle I'll be getting out of here. So it's actually pretty perfect. Pick up the level, it's a big stat level. Nope out of that area, cast Repel, and head up to Garenham. Time to dive the grave. So again, we use no herbs, so we can skip the item shop, which is kind of clutch. We will stop very quickly here at the weapon shop, though, to pick up a large shield. And not strictly necessary, we're going to replace it almost instantly. There's the extra repel right before going in. We're going to replace it with the silver shield basically immediately after this, but technically it is a slight defensive improvement for the Axe Knight fight just in case. I don't think I ever lost an Axe Knight fight in practice at level 15. We tried our hardest to lose it today in the real run because we somehow went for the 1 in 256 double stop spell miss to open that fight, which was fun. And that could have ended our run right there, basically, because if we get slept and wrecked, I lose my silver shield money, and I don't really have a good way to recover that. Best case scenario, I would continue to grind with the broadsword and large shield in that same zone, and then try to head up toward Cantlin around level 17 or 18 once I've got enough cash. Grind will be a little bit slower because you're not defense breaking stuff, and it'll also be a little bit slower because you only have a broadsword versus the extra 8 attack power of the flame sword. You can see these enemies are just all free XP. Technically they're worth slightly less than what we would be fighting around Hawksness, but Totally safe. So time now to challenge the Axe Knight. Again, pretty good odds here. Boosted also by the fact that the heal spell is much more effective. It's still not as good as an herb, but you can kind of get away with just using heal in battle if necessary and playing it out for the sleep cast once you've got him stop spelled. Again, letting repel wear off, taking the encounters, not really getting any damage done to us, so this is a big problem, and this also could basically end the run. Would be multiply run failing to a wizard, or a Star Wyvern in particular. Werewolves can be dangerous too, green dragons can be dangerous as well. And keep in mind we don't have Erdrick's armor yet, so we don't have fire breath protection. I mean, it would require a back attack and at least 2 more run fails, but still. There's the armor. Heal off a bit. Would definitely feel bad to die on the way out of Hawksnest. It can happen, even with the armor. It's not as likely to happen, and then just make the mad dash directly to Cantlin, rather. Fighting the things that are defense broken. Again, it's basically free XP. We're going to walk off any damage that we take. So in particular, Wyverns and Wraith Knights that we encountered there in the desert, and then Wraith Knights here in this zone. We'll take them, but otherwise we'll hold off still on the Knights, Demon Knights, Magi Wyverns. Magi Wyverns are the particularly scary ones. Technically, I should probably be casting Sleep on them for ultimate safety. They're not defense broken. You can see they can still do quite a bit of damage, and if you get slept or run fail, very easily can be taken out. And now we've got the Golem as soon as we get away from these plain-style Green Dragon encounters. Golem is basically free with the flute. And we'll make our purchases Flame Sword, Silver Shield. We'll top up to 4 Fairy Waters. Heal at the inn and go pick up the token. If I hadn't stopped the Axe Knight the first time, would that have been run over? No. But there's the risk that you get put to sleep and wrecked before you have an opportunity to do anything. You watched the actual restreamed run, so the real thing, about an hour ago. I actually failed stop spell twice to start the fight. That's 2 1 in 16 misses, so 1 in 256 that happens, and it did. So, classic Dragon Warrior luck. Again, didn't have to stop at the item shop in Cantlin, so tiny time save there. Didn't have to burn any herbs along the way. Now that I have the Silver Shield, I'm not defense breaking any of the enemies up here, but technically I could probably take out a Werewolf or 2. Those ones are the safest. They don't have any healing abilities. They do have a little bit of extra dodge chance, which isn't great, so we pick up Erdrick's token. Let the repel wear off here. If I cast it again, I'm gonna be repelling stuff for the first little bit in the desert near Hawksnest. I don't want that, because those are exactly the enemies that I want to fight here. The only negative is we can run into Metal Slimes, and Metal Slimes are generally time wasters. We actually had one in our... Actually, I think I ran into 3 Metal Slimes during my real run. We did 3 damage to one, and then it ran away, unfortunately. We didn't get the kill. That would have been nice, but altogether they probably did waste a good 20 seconds of time, so perhaps casting Repel for the early part of the walk would have been the way to go. Pretty sure stop spell is only 1 out of 16 resistance in vanilla as well. That's not changed in randomizer. Or I take it back. Is it not 1 in 6? Maybe it's 3 in 16. I might be remembering incorrectly. I think it's 3 in 16, so I apologize. It's not 1 in 256. It's lower than that. It's still unlikely to miss twice, but I think it's actually 3 in 16 if I remember correctly now. I'll have to check. Thanks for pointing that out. So it's not 1. I think it's 3. It's still very low. It's still an 80+% chance to hit, and the odds of missing twice are, you know, pretty low. 3-4%. Level 16. And this is another place where I kind of experimented a little bit, because at 16 it's still a little bit dicey to go into Hawksness and grind. You're not defense breaking anything except the wizards in there. And you don't have heal more yet, so if you get dodged a couple of times or something, you could be put in a position where you're gonna die. Yeah, we don't need the gold anymore, but you lose map position. And again, in a race like this, there's not really a whole lot of time to lose 2 or 3 minutes for walking around. In that case, I probably would walk over to Vermolder and do a grind on the Sharlock continent for the rest of the XP that I need, rather than walk down here. So at 16, it's not really beneficial, generally, to grind in Hawksness. At 17, on the other hand, is when the decision-making starts to come in, because with Erdrick's armor, with the Silver Shield, and with level 17 stats, you're defense breaking the Werewolf, the Star Wyvern, the Wizard. Not the Green Dragon, but the other 3 are defense breaking, and you have heal more. So it's definitely worth considering. And I did in a couple of runs, and I didn't in a couple others, and honestly, I came out to it's about equal. Out here, you're really not having to cast any spells. And the big difference is, if you're facing Star Wyverns, they have heal more, so it kind of makes sense to stop spell them. I think they only have... Actually, do they even have... They might not have any stop spell resistance. I don't think they have any stop spell resistance, so basically that makes the Star Wyvern a free fight. But you're also going to be taking some damage, at least. Even though they're defense broken, they can still hit you for double digits. And Green Dragons aren't broken. So, again, you're getting hit for more, you're probably casting heal more a few times. And that extra menuing is slow. Yeah, true vanilla run. Again, is there some benefit potentially? Yeah. The hard thing is they're taking so much out of you that, especially in the vanilla run where you basically are going to Hawksness, or Cantlin rather, I mean, depending on what route you're going, like level 14 or 15, you're having to grind for like an hour plus without going to an inn. If you're having to cast heal or use herbs every other fight, or every fight, then it's going to be slow. In this case, because everything is so fast, it almost doesn't matter. Yeah, the lack of need for menuing was kind of my impetus just to stay outside for the most part. I think you definitely can go inside, and at least maybe you get up to like, you know, 85 or 8700 and just do the last couple of encounters with the higher tier enemies. Because they're worth, depending on which enemies you're encountering. I think the lowest here is 64 from the Wyvern up to 90 for the Demon Knight. Inside, you're getting at least 95 from the Werewolf up to 135 from the Green Dragon, so they're worth almost double. But that's also a lot more encounters that you're going to have to heal and menu and do other stuff in. These are basically mindless A-mashes. You can also basically two-shot most things, occasionally three-shotting like a knight or a demon knight if it dodges. these fights are also faster on top of only not needing to menu as much. You also don't need as many swings. It's probably a rough toss-up. Plus, I want to make sure that I have enough resources left when I'm done grinding that I can cast Return to go back to Tanthagil, Return to get out of the Stones Cave in the basement, and that I can cast Repel, I think 4 times is necessary to get from here, the Staff Cave, to the Drop Cave, Remulder, where I... Actually, 5, because I want to cast it once more in Remulder before staying at the inn. So I want to have at least 26 MP, and you're going to burn Heal Mars and MP fast if you go in Foxness. Yeah, even in here, it's kind of the same. You have the ability, if you absolutely need to, you can go up to the slightly easier zone or go into the forest tiles where the encounter rate is less to heal up a little bit. Again, this is a little bit of quote-unquote time investment by waiting to get the stones until a little bit later, because you're having to walk the entire way through the castle as opposed to just the last little bit if you get them very early. I found that it kind of didn't matter. The extra walking is about the time you'd save by casting Return here. So that was about equivalent. And picking them up now, as opposed to earlier, allowed me to carry 1 more Fairy Water at the beginning. Which, even for just safety purposes, was nice to have on me in case I ran out of MP and needed to kill something, as opposed to try to swing at it and pray. Because my repels were always a little bit staggered depending on when I cast them, I was never perfect on getting these repels cast without the repel is worn off message coming through. This is from a YouTube upload I made of a practice run. This is not my actual restreamed run. I'm gonna make the YouTube upload. Right now it's unpublished. I'll publish it and post it to the Discord. But I was able to do some commentary and provide some context and such, so I figured why not. Kind of why I chose to do certain things at certain points, and just little optimizations and thoughts that I had along the way. Probably should have stretched things so there's not those tiny little black bars at the top and bottom just for aesthetic purposes, but whatever. Looking at that now, like, you could have just stretched it a little bit. Nobody would care. Oh well. Well, thanks for the GG earlier, Nim, and thanks, CP, for the congrats and the GG now. It's appreciated. It was a good run. It definitely could have gone sideways at a couple different points, but I got lucky. Yeah, I think I went one step too far to the west, and the tile that I was going to cast Repel on in the actual run was the tile that I ran out of Repel, so the message did come up. It's only like a 2-second time loss, but 2 seconds. Gotta optimize. This was basically my best run in practice, which was actually at like 4:30 this afternoon. Because I didn't do very many full runs of this. I only did a couple. What I did more so was basically just checking zones, like hit level 10, create a save state, grind here for 2 minutes, or grind there for 2 minutes, or whatever. And just figure out what the optimal spots were for various things. I did that, and then I did do a little bit of experimentation with different routes for the early game. That's where I kind of found that there was the most variability. I did have some other thoughts for some things. that I didn't end up doing, or that I kinda did in practice that sorta worked, but maybe they were at best equivalent, but potentially more risky, so it's like... It's that combination of trying to minimize risk and maximize speed, and it's like, if something is not faster, it's the same, but also more risky, then why do it? Just do the safer strat. It is dim. I also won last year's. Actually, kind of funny. I was so like, ugh, I actually forgot to done for like 5 seconds after. I think my recorded time in the thing here was 47:34, but my actual time on stream was like 47:29 or 47:30. I just like totally forgot, like, oh yes, this is a race. You have the done at the end. Again, here at the Big C, second floor moving into the third floor, diamond floor, casting repel again like a step or two before it wears off. So basically it's going to wear off right around the time I pick up the sword. We're repelling everything except Axe Knights in the top zone. That's kind of nice. We are repelling a few things here in the middle zone, but we can still run into Axe Knights, Stone Men, Blue Dragons. Again, none of which are super dangerous. The Axe Knight's probably the most dangerous because of sleep. Now the fork in the road coming down to where I need to go pick up the sword. A couple things I had thought in terms of routing as we pick up the sword there. So again, really, really amazing encounter luck here. I ran into like nothing in Zone 2 until after Repel wore off, which is nuts. Then, of course, everything starts appearing naturally. But one of the things I kind of experienced, like, well, if I go to 19 safer, what's the trade-off? Can I not do Cantlin at all, skip the Silver Shield, just do the grind around Hawksness with the Broadsword? Like, can I do that? Is that going to save time? And I kind of ended up deciding that it really doesn't. It's probably slightly slower, so I ended up not doing that. Again, run luck here on the Red Dragons, plus encounter luck of getting them at all. So, the count so far for Reds and Armored Knights, 1. 2. And a big mistake. Taking even a single step there without using herbs or a heal more to heal definitely ended up costing me heal more in this case. So that is a big mistake that should not have happened. Of course, it was also unfortunate to immediately on the very first step run into an enemy, specifically a wizard, that back attacked me and cast Hurt More. Could have also physical attacked and done 2 damage or missed. But it didn't. But that could have been a game ender. That's our 3rd Red Dragon Axe Knight or Armored Knight encounter. That's it. 3. That is extremely lucky. I had much worse luck, at least for the encounters in the run tonight, but I had really good run luck, so I kind of balanced out, I guess. Get the stop spell cast there, which is awesome. Going in with 11 heal more is not ideal. But still, definitely a favorite. I think that's 24. That's 40. No reason to take any risky doubles yet. We have really good rolls on the Fairy Waters. That's 56. 68. 76. 83. 91. It's 97. I chose not to swing at 47. 108, which I think was the right call. 120. 129. I should be guaranteed, but just in case I mismathed anything, we do take the extra heal more for safety purposes. Defeat the Dragon Lord, return home, and finish things off. But this was my best run in practice. And that was like earlier today. Oops. Forgot to hit time there, but it's because of it not being whatever. Time was actually 45:46. And that is posted to YouTube. I will publish it and put it out there to Discord. I don't remember exactly what the time was by comparison to my PB prior to that, but I was not a sub. Did I even have a sub 47? I think I had like a 47:40 or something. Actually, I can see it on here. On the video itself, so it was a 33-second PB, so 46:19 was my PB prior to that, so that was a full 33-second PB, which is crazy. Yes, Browns played super well. It was looking a little bit dicey there after Cincinnati moved completely up and down the field. Basically for 11 straight minutes to start the game. 20 offensive plays to 0 for the Browns, but the Browns did have a 7-0 lead until that touchdown to tie it up. But yeah, the rest of the game was just super well played for the Browns. I think the biggest thing about this game that we haven't seen is A, creation of turnovers, and B, very strong secondary play. Like, the Browns have had really, really tough time keeping guys on the field in terms of injuries, and there's still some critical injuries going on right now. That's keeping out some pretty important players, but actually seeing everybody out there and playing well and everything else definitely made a big difference for them today. So yeah, they played super well. Glad to see it.